No hospitals, no doctors, no medicine. In the early 1900s, over 6 million African Americans left the rural South, seeking freedom, jobs, and a better life. But there was something missing: healthcare. Hospitals were segregated, and being poor made it hard to afford doctors. So, our ancestors turned to what they knew best. Natural remedies saved lives when no one else would. Painful joints, turmeric, ginger, and apple cider vinegar. High blood pressure, hawthorn, lemon and raw honey. Need a detox? Fermented cabbage and juniper berries. These weren't just old folks' remedies, they were survival. And guess what? They still work today.
During the Jim Crow era, roughly the late 1800s through the 1960s, Black people were systematically denied access to most white hospitals, clinics, and pharmacies, especially in the South. Segregation laws and racism made medical care a serious struggle. Here's how they survived and cared for each other. 1. Black hospitals and clinics. Because white hospitals often refused to treat Black patients or would only admit them to separate inferior colored wards, Black communities built their own institutions. Some examples include Freedman's Hospital in Washington, D.C., founded 1862, Meharry Medical College Hospital in Nashville, Provident Hospital in Chicago, founded 1891 by Dr. Daniel Hale Williams, who performed one of the first successful heart surgeries, Homer G. Phillips Hospital in St. Louis, which trained generations of Black doctors and nurses. These hospitals were often underfunded, but they were life-saving. They also gave Black medical professionals a chance to train and serve their own communities. 2. Black pharmacists, midwives, and herbalists. In towns that didn't have Black doctors, midwives, herbal healers, and community nurses filled the gap. Midwives delivered babies and treated illnesses with herbs, roots, and teas passed down from African and Native traditions. Many Black pharmacists and doctors learned how to create their own medicines or remedies when access to pharmacies was denied. Folk medicine and home remedies became part of survival. For instance, using turpentine, Epsom salt, castor oil, garlic, or herbs like sassafras and peppermint. 3. Mutual aid and church support. Churches and mutual aid societies were the backbone of healthcare. If someone got sick, the community often collected money for treatment, medicine, or travel to a Black hospital. Women's church groups visited the sick, cooked, and cleaned for families. Fraternal organizations like the Prince Hall Masons, Elks, and United Order of True Reformers offered burial and health benefits. 4. Medical schools for Black professionals. White medical schools often excluded Black students, so historically Black colleges and universities, HBCUs, created their own. Howard University College of Medicine, Meharry Medical College, Morehouse School of Medicine, later. These schools trained thousands of Black doctors, nurses, and pharmacists who went back into segregated communities to serve their people. 5. Traditional and home remedies. Because professional care wasn't always available, many relied on home treatments. Castor oil and cod liver oil for colds and infections, pine tar, turpentine, or onion poultices for chest congestion, herbal teas for fevers and stomach issues. Prayer, faith healing, and community caregiving were also deeply intertwined with health. In short, Black survival during Jim Crow was built on community unity, self-taught healers and trained Black professionals, faith and folk wisdom, institutions created by and for Black people. It was a system born out of necessity, and it laid the foundation for modern Black healthcare advocacy today. Dr. Daniel Hale Williams and Provident Hospital. Dr. Daniel Hale Williams, 1856 to 1931, the surgeon who built a hospital for his people. In the 1890s, long before the Civil Rights Movement, Dr. Daniel Hale Williams was one of only a handful of Black surgeons in the United States. At that time, most white hospitals completely refused to treat Black patients. And even Black doctors were barred from working there. Dr. Williams saw how dangerous that was. People died from treatable illnesses simply because they couldn't get care. So in 1891, in Chicago, he opened Provident Hospital and Training School for Nurses, the first Black-owned and operated hospital in America. Provident Hospital, a beacon in the storm. Provident welcomed everyone, Black and white, rich and poor. But its mission was clear: to give Black patients and Black medical professionals a place where they would be treated with dignity and skill. It was revolutionary because it trained black nurses and doctors who had nowhere else to study. It provided free or low-cost care to people who couldn't afford hospitals. It became a model for black hospitals across the country, showing that quality medical care didn't depend on race. The miracle surgery. In 1893, Dr. Hawk Williams performed one of the first successful open-heart surgeries in history. A young man named James Cornish had been stabbed in the chest and was near death. At a time when surgery on the heart was considered impossible, Dr. Williams opened the man's chest, repaired the wound, and saved his life, without modern anesthesia or antibiotics. Cornish lived for many more years. This made Dr. Williams one of the most respected surgeons of his time, and it showed the world what black medicine could achieve even under oppression. Legacy Provident Hospital stood for more than medicine. It stood for self-determination and black excellence. During the Jim Crow era, many hospitals followed its example, including Homer G. Phillips Hospital, St. Louis, Freedman's Hospital, Washington, D.C., Taborian Hospital, Mississippi, founded by the Knights and Daughters of Tabor. These hospitals didn't just save lives. They trained generations of black nurses and doctors who later integrated the medical profession after segregation ended. The story of the black midwives of the Jim Crow South is one of strength, healing, and deep ancestral knowledge. Let's focus on one remarkable woman, granny midwives like Annie Lee Logan, who represented thousands of unsung heroes. Annie Lee Logan, 1910 to 1995, a midwife from Alabama. Annie Lee Logan was a midwife in Mobile, Alabama, who delivered more than 10,000 babies during her lifetime, most of them black, poor, and living under Jim Crow. She wasn't a doctor. She was what people called a granny midwife, women who learned healing and birthing from older women, often passed down through generations that began in slavery. How she practiced. During segregation, many hospitals refused to admit black women in labor. If they did, they were often mistreated, ignored, or forced to use the back door. So Annie and other midwives traveled by foot, wagon, or car through the countryside to deliver babies in homes. Carried a black satchel filled with clean sheets, olive oil, scissors, safety pins, and herbs. Used home remedies and spiritual care, praying over mothers, using warm compresses, and teaching them how to breathe through labor. Stayed with mothers for days after birth, cooking meals, cleaning, and helping them heal. Rooted in African and indigenous knowledge. Much of what these women practiced came from African birthing traditions, blended with Native American herbal medicine and Christian faith. They knew which teas helped with pain, which herbs stopped bleeding, and how to turn a breech baby without instruments. Their knowledge wasn't written in books. It was lived, taught, and sacred. By the 1940s and 50s, white doctors and health departments began to see midwives as uneducated and tried to outlaw them. But the truth was, these midwives had better birth outcomes than many rural hospitals, fewer infections and deaths. When officials forced them to get licenses, Annie Logan passed all her exams and continued practicing until she was over 70 years old. Her legacy, Annie Logan told her story in the book Mother Wit, an Alabama midwife's story. Mother Wit means the wisdom you're born with, the common sense and spirit to care for others. She said, open quote, "You gotta have love for people. That's what make you a good midwife. You don't just catch the baby, you love the mama too." Close quote. Through women like her, black families survived Jim Crow, not just physically, but spiritually, bringing new life into a world that tried to deny their humanity.